Hey everyone, it's Dominic, the Primetime Treasure Hunter. Thanks for coming by to check out another video. Thanks to all of the new subscribers that have come in to join. I want to let you know, especially for those who have come in because of an interest in comic books. I know I've posted a lot about that lately. I do talk about a lot of other things on this channel besides comics. We'll get back into the comics at a later point, but right now I want to shift towards another topic that I know a lot of people who come to this channel are also very interested in, and that has to deal with the psychology of negotiation between buyers and sellers. So I like to take knowledge from my profession as a neuropsychologist and more generally psychology and the study of human behavior and apply that to business to make your business more profitable. And a great situation to talk about where that occurs is negotiation between buyers and sellers. So I have a lot of other videos on that topic that you could explore on my channel. In fact, I have a whole playlist section that's devoted to it that you could go look to, and this video will be added to it. And what I want to focus this video on is a situation where a buyer tells you that they cannot go higher than a certain dollar amount. Now, sometimes they're telling the truth about this, but other times they are not telling the truth. They really could go higher, but they want to let you know this because they want you to think that there's an ultimatum here and that if you don't accept that offer, then they're going to walk and they're going to go somewhere else. And so there's lots of variables to take into account to try to figure out whether or not they are bluffing or not. You know, negotiation on eBay is often like playing poker. It's like a game of chicken sometimes, and you have to know how to play it properly in order to be successful more than not. There's no one strategy I could tell you that's going to make you win every single time. Like, there's no way you're always going to win every single time you play poker, but I could give you strategies that can make you successful more than not. And at the end of the day, that's what you need to be more profitable. Now, buyers will phrase this in different ways. Sometimes they'll say, you know, let's just take the number $10. $10 is the highest I could go. Or they'll say $10 is the best that I could do. Or $10 is really where I need to be. I can't go higher than that. So there's lots of different ways to phrase it, but it all means the same thing. Now, keep in mind, just as an aside, I'm telling you this from the seller's perspective, but we do this as well if we're going to be honest. So we tell buyers sometimes, let's say $20. $20 is the lowest we can go, or $20 is the best that we can do, or we really need to be at 20. We could say the same thing, and we do sometimes. And just like the buyers, sometimes we're telling the truth. We can't go lower than that number. And sometimes we really can, but we really just want the buyer to think that that's pretty much the best that we can do and hope that they accept. So we're doing the same thing. It's the same type of psychological game that goes back and forth during the negotiation process. And a lot of people enjoy that back and forth. It's almost kind of like a sport in a way, and there's an art to it. And so that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about here. And I'm going to bring in a specific item in which just had this negotiation and offers and counter offers go back and forth over a day over a particular item that I thought was a good way to kind of discuss this topic. And so this is the item here. It's a vintage 1950s Berkeley model airplane kit set. It's complete. It's difficult to find these in complete condition. I do like to pass on some side tips for you for watching this video. So even though we're mainly talking about negotiation, a couple things I want to tell you if you find these kits is to make sure you take a picture of the sides and the top. And people like to see that. They like to know that the box doesn't have split ends and that it's in pretty good condition. And most importantly, they want to see a picture of the inner components like this because they want to make sure nothing's missing, especially if they're going to invest a lot of money in an old kit. They want to make sure everything's there. Even if the kit is sealed, I would tell you, well, not if it's sealed with plastic, but if it is not sealed with plastic, if it's just sealed with tape, a lot of the old ones were just sealed with factory tape. Open that up, actually show the inner components because they want to be able to tell that all those parts are there. It will not do anything to significantly increase the value if you take that factory tape off. Now, This is also something important to show, which would be the instructions, because obviously they're going to need to build it, and having the instructions is huge. So if you could show that as well, that's an added selling point. So this is the item, and I've sold these before. I did acquire a bunch of these at an estate sale for $3 a piece. So cost of goods, $3. I only have one left. It's a different one, not this one, but I need to post that. But all of my other Berkeleys, they've all sold, and they sold fast. A lot of them have sold within less than 24 hours, somewhere generally between $75 and the low $100 range. The max value on these would be somewhere around the high 100s. And just to give you a sense of how well these generally sell, you know, you could see this one over here. Let me just put this here. This is a different one. This is not mine. This is someone else's, but this is a sale price. And you could see, if you look at the condition on this, I mean, you could tell this was stored in an old barn somewhere. You could tell from all the dirt on it. You know, it's not bad on the bottom, and a lot of that dirt could probably wipe off, I'm guessing. You know, so it's going to depend on the person if they want to do that. But the way they post it just doesn't look very, you know, presentable because of all the dirt on it. And there's some dents in the box and stuff, but even so, it's sold for $110 plus $10 shipping. Now, shipping on this is going to depend on what area of the country it's going to. I have a free shipping model, so I have to work that into my costs. And it is fairly light though, so the person who made an offer on this was from Ohio, or is from Ohio, and I'm in New York, so that's not that far, and priority on this would cost $6.75. So that's not bad for shipping, you know, an expensive piece like this. Now, you see my price there, $135. I had just lowered it by $5 earlier that day. The offer comes in for $100. So with cost of goods being $3, you may say to yourself, well, you know what? I mean, I don't even know why you're doing this video, because that's a pretty good offer, and I would take that every day of the week. And my point in this is not that there's necessarily a right or wrong answer in this situation. I think it really depends on what your business model is like, what your financial situation is like, that sort of stuff. So for example, if you're in a situation where you need to make X number of dollars every day, like you have that worked into your business model, you need to make $100 a day net in sales, and you're having a slow day, you've only sold 2 things, maybe for $19.99 a piece or $14.99, and you're getting nervous, you might not, you know, make that number, and this offer comes in for $100. Well, that is a no-brainer in that situation, and take the $100. It's guaranteed. You know, or let's say you have an item that is not quite so rare as this, and it's more readily available, and someone makes this offer. Well, now you don't have the advantage of low availability, and maybe the demand isn't super high for it. So in that situation, you have less leverage, and you might be willing to let it go for the $100 in that situation. So that would make sense too. Or let's say you've had this sitting around for a while. It's gone through 2-3 cycles. It's taking up space. You'd rather just get rid of it. $100 sounds great. You wind up taking it. And by the way, there's a reason why $100 is offered, not $99.99. The buyer wants to throw out those 3 digits to you to make it sound more appealing. We have that psychologically in our head, you know, that we'd like to get $100. $100 is always, you know, kind of thrown out there in games like lotteries as prizes. Hey, you won $100, stuff like that. Or, you know, you're playing board games like Monopoly. You win $100. You don't win $99.99. So it just makes it sound like there's more, even though it's a penny more than $99.99. And it works very well. And we do this on the reverse end when we're making offers to buyers. We'll offer it to them for $99.99, not $100, because we want to make it sound less. So that is a very, very effective psychological technique, works very well, and that's something that in this situation the buyer's trying to use on me. And you know, it's not a bad strategy at all to try. Now, I actually debated a bit in terms of whether or not I should accept that offer, but this is why I want to tell you situations where you can call the bluff. Now let me actually show you the offer that came in. I'm going to X off of this one right here, and you could see here the person offered me $100, and I wound up saying, let's meet in the middle. Let's meet at $117.50. And the reason why I did that, let me go back here and then I'll show you his response. You probably saw it. But the reason why I did that is that, one, I already lowered the price by $5 earlier in the day. Two, this is a rare set. It's very difficult to find this. Plus, it's complete. It has the instructions in it. Third, I have 6 watchers on the item. And fourth, I have experience with the item. So that's very important. I have experience selling this. I know that there is somebody else that will buy this, even if this person winds up walking away from it. And that does communicate something to the buyer. When the buyer offers you $100 and you come back with a counter and you mention these points, which is what I did, I mentioned those things. I mean, initially I just said $117.50, let's meet in the middle. And the buyer responded like this. I'll kind of highlight it if you didn't see it. He said, it was very nice. He said, thank you for your generous offer. I'm sorry, but I need to stay at $100. And so that's the point where you really have to make a decision, because if you decline it, and he had just sent back another offer of 100, so he just sent the same offer in twice. If you decline it, you may very well never hear from this person again. And you could then try to write the person and try to take it back. But generally, once a person walks, they walk and they've divested themselves from the item. So you really got to make a decision. And I thought a little bit about it. And ultimately, I responded back to him. I don't have my message here. It doesn't save it. But I responded back to him, thank you very much. Again, try to stay polite. I said, I really need to, I just kind of countered with the same thing on my end, which said I, really would like to keep it at $117.50 because I just lowered it $5 earlier in the day. And ultimately, the thing that I thought of was I can't take essentially $40 off of the prices, which is what I would be doing. He's likely one of those 6 watchers, and I can't take $40 off of the price on such a rare piece. And that's what I said to him. So I'm using low supply and also high demand. I'm telling him I have 6 watchers, and he could easily go check that by searching on his phone, and he would see on the mobile device that there are 6 watchers on the item, and that means someone else could take it at any point. So we're both kind of going back and forth with different things. I mean, he's trying to use as his leverage that he's got $100 that he's offered on the table that he's gonna purchase it right then and there, and I've got a rare item. It's low supply, it's high demand, and he doesn't know this, but I, again, in the back of my mind, I have experience selling this. And I know even if he walks, so this is very important, I know even if he walks that I have another set of buyers that will purchase this for over $100, or worst case scenario, $100. See, once that person throws that offer of $100 in, I know worst case scenario, I could always put this at $100, buy it now, and somebody will come along and buy it because this person was willing to throw that $100 on the table. Now, it could take a while, but eventually that is what will happen. So he then wrote me back. It took him a day to think it over, and that's okay. They have 48 hours, and sometimes people need to sleep on it, and I think that's what he did, because the very next morning he sent me a new offer of $110, and he put a little comment there. Hello again, would $100 be good enough? Thank you, Robert. Now, Robert was very nice, which goes a long way in negotiations. He's very respectful the whole time, and I was with him, and he really wants the piece, and he's the only one now willing to go over $100 and put an offer out there. Now, sometimes if it's a lower priced item, like let's say it's a someone offers you $10 on a $20 item and you're willing to meet them at $14.99, and then the person comes back at $12.50. In those situations, I'm not willing to go off of where the middle point is, because taking $5 off there is more significant in some ways, even though the dollar amount isn't exactly the same, than coming down that $117.50, because I have so much less invested in this item relative to that item that I might wind up selling at $12.50, especially when you factor in that the minimum shipping is going to be for a smaller item is $2.75 if you're doing it for a pound or less medium mail. So here there's much more flexibility, because again, I only have $3 invested into it, and now person offers me $110. Perfect, fine, I will take that. In this situation, what I was getting to is I don't feel, when we're dealing with higher dollar amounts, that I have to stay wedded at that midpoint. That midpoint is a place to go to where hopefully, and my experience is that in most situations the person will take that. But sometimes they'll come back with a counter that's not too far off of that midpoint, and if you're comfortable with it, take it. So I was comfortable with the 110. That's what it sold for. In my mind, again, I wanted to be able that once shipping was taken care of, that I had a $100 or more sale on this piece, because I felt like that this is what this piece deserved, again, based largely on experience and my own research. So $6.75 to ship, that even leaves a little bit over $100. Of course, there's cost of goods, and it's about $10, $13 to eBay and PayPal and that sort of thing, but wound up being a very nice return on investment overall for this item. And remember, he did wind up paying $110, even though he initially said he needed to be at 100. So it's not always true. Again, just to sum up, the variables that I used in this situation to get this person to go over where they said the maximum that they would go at, or where they really need to be, was rarity, so supply and demand, availability, also just in terms of desirability of the item, which would go into the demand part, having the 6 watchers, also my own experience, and also just for me having a separate full-time job. I don't have to make this sale today to survive. I could go by and I could wait another day, and I also have enough items in my store and enough sales that I'm making that I'm not dependent that I have to get that. Again, in another person's situation, it may make a lot of sense to just take that offer of $100 that came in initially. So it really depends. Hope that you found this helpful, and if there's other variables, other things you take into account when you're dealing with these situations, or little stories you want to tell where someone said the most they could go is a certain number, and then you wound up negotiating it for a much higher sale price, let me know. I love to hear those stories. I do this a lot, and it's not guaranteed to work every time. Sometimes someone will walk away, and you could look at it as that you lost that sale, and it's true, you did lose it for that particular person, but I can't tell you how many times that I've walked away from it and then somebody else comes in down the road and purchases it for full price. So in this situation, I mean, technically, someone else could have come in the next day and bought it for $135, but at the same time, this person's throwing $110 on the table, and that's good enough for me. Definitely, given my cost of goods, it just, again, made total sense. So hope you find the video helpful. If so, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe, share it with others if you think that they will get something out of it. Make sure you come back to my channel and scroll around, look around, go over to this playlist, and you can see there's lots of different topics that I have covered in the playlist area. And this one you really might enjoy. I have a lot of stuff on negotiation and lowball. So make sure you check that out. There's a ton of things on there in fact, 23 separate videos on negotiation strategies, psychology of negotiation, and dealing with lowballs, extreme lowball offers, double lowballs, triple lowballs. If you don't know what that means, go over. You'll see all the videos there, and I hope you find them interesting. So Lastly, make sure you come to my Facebook group, the Facebook Reselling Resource Center. The link to that is down below in the description section. And again, come check out Instagram. I've got that at prime_time_treasure. Lots of little tips, tricks, mini videos to help you out throughout the day. I'll see everyone at the next video, everyone. Take care.